Evolution, by definition, is the process by which different kinds of living organisms are thought to have developed and diversified from earlier forms during the history of the Earth. This means over long ages of the Earth's history, higher organisms have developed from lower organisms. Thus, it also means that components within an organism also developed from simpler organisms. Today, we're going to look at just 3 examples of this supposed evolution and see what we can conclude from it. We will look at the eye, we will look at the beautiful peacock, and we will look at bisexual reproduction, where we require 2 sexes, a male and female, to produce an offspring. Hello, I'm Ed Van Gennep, President of the Museum of Natural Science and History. Let's start with the peacock, that amazing bird creature. The male, when he spreads out his tail feathers, makes a great fan, as you can see here. Look at the colors, look at the patterns. How do you think the peacock evolved? Did it evolve from some lesser bird? Was it an earlier version of the peacock, or was it some totally different kind of animal? To simplify things, let's just look at the feathers, not the whole animal. Each feather shows many colors. They're not just random, but they're in a pattern. Coming from the back of the bird, the color pattern spread upwards and outwards across the feathers. And then for each feather, we can look at the shape. The shape of each feather is the same. They're fairly narrow, and then this round bulge part appears, and then they narrow again. That bulge part we'll call the eye. And that bulge, that eye, appears just at the same spot where the different color pattern emerges. Is that coincidence that change in color happens where that eye appears? And not only that, but each feather appears just in the right spot to produce this pattern across all feathers. If we randomly mix up those feathers, we would just get what we would think evolution would produce, just a random mix of colors, and it would have no patterns at all. Yet every feather lines up so that the color patterns match across the feathers, and even the eyes in each feather line up to make a pattern. How could such colors, how could such arrangement of feathers, how could just happen through random processes? All that information has to be in the DNA. How did that information get there? What other animal did it evolve from to create that? Second, let's look at the human eye. Some scientists say our eyes evolved from other creatures, other species that have simpler eyes. Very basic eye can just detect light and dark, kind of like shadows. Other eyes are a bit more advanced. They can detect movement. And eventually, ultimately, we have our eyes, as complex as they are. Did our eyes evolve that complex functionality before the optic nerve that connects your eye to the brain developed? Or before the brain developed the ability to process all that complex information, to process colors? Or did all those things develop together, randomly, but they developed together at the same time, so that they could all coordinate together? Without all being there together, the functionality of each individual component is useless. Evolution really doesn't like useless things. Evolution favors survival of the fittest. If you have an eye that can see color, but you don't have a brain that can process it, what is the use? That usefulness over time should disappear from the species as it continues to evolve. Evolution cannot explain the parallel development of these features so that they come together at the same time. Finally, let's look at bisexual reproduction, where a species has a male and a female, and those two must come together to produce an offspring, to procreate, to carry on the species. Again, evolution favors survival of the fittest. Small creatures initially, when life first started, were supposedly asexual. A creature could replicate itself, duplicate itself, split its cell to create a new creature. That's very efficient. It uses very little energy. Very little coordination is needed. Yet at some point, that stopped, and more advanced creatures became bisexual. Did the male and did the female both evolve at the same time? Did they both have the right components, the right functionality, so they could come together and reproduce? As evolution happens over such a long period of time, what are the odds that a male would evolve, a female would evolve, and they happen to evolve approximately the same place on the Earth that they could come together to reproduce so their species didn't die out? The odds again are virtually zero. Thus, evolution should favor ongoing, perpetual, asexual reproduction. Yet it doesn't. If evolution is not the answer, what's the alternative? At this point in time, we only have one alternative, and that's that they're a designer, an intelligent being, God, we could call it, that created everything. It designed the peacock the way it is. It designed most species to have bisexual reproduction. It designed different kinds of eyes the way they are so they could function for the purposes that those particular creatures need. They did not evolve over billions of years. Information like this and much more will be presented at Nature's World of Wonder, or WOW as we call it. Will you help us to build the museum, the Science Center? We want it to be a modern, high-tech facility to interest, to attract the young people of North America. Thus it's going to be expensive. We need your help. If you'll donate today, in a few years we can build WOW, and you'll be able to say, wow, I was part of making that happen.